Hi, kindergarten. Welcome to Bible class. Today we have a new story we're going to learn, and it's all about when Jesus was here and he was telling people these special stories, and they were to help people to understand a truth about the Bible, and these stories would help people to understand better. So, there were some men who were listening to Jesus and these stories, and one of them was a Levite, and he was a helper in the temple. The temple was where they had church, um, and they knew that God wanted them to show compassion to others and to love others, and so Jesus told them this story that I'm going to read to you today. So listen very carefully. One day, Jesus told a story to teach how to be a good neighbor. The story he told spoke about how to show love to others. A Jewish man was taking a trip from Jerusalem to Jericho. This is a beautiful day, he thought as he went along, and this trip seems to be going well. Maybe I'll get to Jericho even sooner than I thought. So he was going from where? From Jerusalem to Jericho. Can you say that? From Jerusalem to Jericho. Good. Suddenly, some robbers came out of nowhere. They beat up the Jewish man. Then they stole everything he had. The man was hurt so badly he couldn't walk. The robbers left him by the roadside, moaning in pain. Oh, ow. He groaned, wishing that someone would stop and help him. He was just laying there. He couldn't help himself at all. A little while later, a priest came down the road. He saw the poor man, but he decided that it was someone else's job to help. He thought, I'm the priest. I can't touch anything that's unclean or I can't. And he said, I just can't do that. So he looked at him and he was like, oh no, I cannot touch this man. So the priest crossed to the other side of the road and went on. And then after that, a man who was a helper in the temple came by. And he saw that hurt man, but he decided not to help him either. He was like, oh no, oh I'm so sorry, but I can't help you. He crossed to the other side of the road and went on just as the priest had done. Finally, a Samaritan man came by. Even though Jewish people and Samaritan people were normally unfriendly to one another, this Samaritan was kind. He felt sorry for the injured Jewish man, and the Samaritan went to the Jewish man and helped him. He poured oil and wine on the man's wounds to clean them, and then the Samaritan put the injured man on his own donkey, and brought him to an inn, which is like a hotel, and took care of him. He just didn't leave him. He stayed there and took care of him until he was better. The next day, the Samaritan gave the innkeeper some money and told the innkeeper to take care of the Jewish man. So it was like the man who was in charge of the hotel. He said, here's some money, please take care of him for me. And the Samaritan said, if it cost more to take care of this man, that he would pay for it when he came back on his next trip. Jesus ended the story by asking a question. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell in the hands of robbers? He said, who was actually being a neighbor and loving? It was the one who showed kindness to the one who needed it. Jesus then told everyone listening to the story, be sure you are a neighbor, like the Samaritan showed kindness as well. So that's our story for today. Let's see how well you remembered our story, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So here's the first question. How did the Jewish man get hurt? Yep, the robbers came and beat him up and stole all that he had and left him there. Exactly. Why did two people pass by and not help that hurt man? Why did those people, remember it was a priest and then someone who worked in the temple, why did they just leave him there? Yeah, because they didn't want to be bothered. They thought, oh, it's someone else's job and I don't want to touch him because he's not clean. Yeah, that wasn't very kind, was it? Now, how did the Samaritan help the hurt man? That is right. He cleaned his wounds, he put him up on his donkey, he took him to a hotel and took care of him, and even paid for his bills for the hotel and for maybe a doctor who would come help him as well. Yes, good job. Now, out of the 3 men who saw the hurt man, who was the good neighbor? You're right, it was the last man, the Samaritan man. Good. Now, the Good Samaritan, he stopped to help a stranger. Now remember, it's not safe to speak to strangers without having an adult or parent. But the people in Jesus' story were adults. Now, we need to be careful, and we should be with our families or other adults when we stop to help someone. So it would be wonderful if you help someone, but make sure you have your mommies and daddies with you, and then you can help someone just like the Good Samaritan did. Now, today in your packet, the first day's work will be right here. Now, this is the first Bible paper. Tomorrow you will do the back of this paper. So don't worry about that today. We're just going to do the front side of this, okay? So let me read the instructions so you know exactly what to do. The directions say, match the pictures that show a modern day Good Samaritan with the pictures of the parable of the Good Samaritan. So that means, how could we be a good neighbor? How could we be just like that Samaritan man now, okay? So draw a picture of your face in the last box. So that will be the first step. Draw your face right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to match the pictures to the numbers. So let's look at it. We've got number 1 is a picture of the Good Samaritan, or someone who's got all hurt. What would you do to help that person who got hurt like that? How could you help someone? This would be kind of like someone maybe who got in a car crash. Yeah, someone who got really hurt. So you can go ahead and cut out that picture and put it here. Number 2. So number 2 is the picture of the water and the things that the man used to help the man who got hurt. So how could you help? How would that look like if it were today? That's right. It would look kind of like this, where you'd bandage someone up if they got hurt. It would look more like this. You'd have some bandages. So go ahead and cut that out. Put that on number 2. Next, the Samaritan man, he used his donkey to take him to the hotel where he could get better. Now, what kind of thing would you use nowadays to get someone the help that they needed? That's right. You would use maybe an ambulance to take them from where they got hurt to where they could get their help. Good. And number 4. Number 4 is a picture of the Good Samaritan. Now, can you be like the Good Samaritan? Yes, you can. So go ahead and put your picture that you drew of yourself, put it right here, because you can be just like that man. All right, we'll see you next time, and we'll learn more about the Good Samaritan tomorrow. And until then, bye guys.